we had this discussion in Stars Matter too the other day.
Yeah.
And the question was, do you think that the way that coaches recruit quarterbacks out of high school, is that going to be changed? Because some people like to stagger it, top 100 guy every other year, then 3-star developmental guy, and then also too, like, do you think that there's going to be more instances of 2 top 100 quarterbacks in the same class, the way that we saw with Alabama a year ago? Now that you have a result of, well, I can go give it my best shot, go to a place. If it doesn't work out, despite the fact that the depth chart is backed up, like, I can take this shot and leave whenever I want. Like, I think that the programs that are recruiting the quarterback position the best out of high school are going to run into this like every other year, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think that's a problem though. I have a friend who is a big fan of a school and will text me and they're like, "Is this quarterback going to leave?" I'm like, "Yes, they're all going to leave except the guy who starts." Like, it's just how it works. Don't get sentimental about it. And I can tell you right now, the coaches aren't sentimental about it.
Yeah, Nebraska is in like the most unique situation of all time in this era. They have 6 scholarship quarterbacks right now.
Yeah.
Which is plenty. And so like there's a lot of speculation around here about like, like who's going to leave and like, would anyone want to leave? It's like, yeah, it's going to happen.
That's the thing too. It's like, Aaron Nolan committed to Ohio State this past week, and I was talking to Manny about what that meant for Miami. And Miami picked up a 3-star kid that they liked as a developmental project, and he goes, "Well, I think it'll be fine because they'll just figure something out in the portal." And it's like, I don't know how to feel about that, because it's like, yes, there will be the inevitable loser of the Georgia battle in the portal or whatever, but you would much rather be on the side that's recruiting too well out of high school and losing guys than being the program that's trying to pick up the ones that lost the battle, right?
Well, Georgia's an interesting one to put in here, because Kirby Smart on National Signing Day didn't sign a quarterback and got asked about it. He's like, whatever. We just get one out of the portal if we needed one. Now, they don't need one. They have 3 guys that they feel like are pretty good. And Matthew C. in the chat asked us if they're going to lose one of those. I'd say they're going to lose one of those. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I would imagine they lose one of those. So, but they didn't need to sign anybody this year. They went all in on Arch Manning. He picked Texas. By the time that happened, there wasn't anybody else that they felt particularly passionate about. And they're like, whatever. And I think if you are that sort of program, the kind that competes for national titles or conference titles regularly, you can probably do that. You can put the bat signal up if you feel like you need to get somebody out of the portal, and magically somebody good will enter the portal.
Well, also like
no
that Georgia staff
whatsoever.
is not going into the spring saying like they know how this is probably going to go, right? You like if Brock Vandagriff decides, I want to try to be a starter somewhere else, no one's going to be like, wait, what? What is he thinking? Like that, just everyone kind of gets that, and so you make that plan, long in advance of like how you think it's probably going to go, and it's hard to hold on to backups, obviously, but you have to be like realistic to. I mean, I don't know how you see it going at Ohio State, Ari, for example. Like, do you think the guy who doesn't win that battle is at least finishes out the fall?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think if it's McCord, he'd probably leave sooner, right? Because he's a year older. And Devin Brown isn't playing in the spring game. I guess he had a small procedure on his throwing hand. But I think Devin Brown you could make the case that being the backup quarterback at Ohio State or a place like Georgia or Alabama is a better job than being a starter at a middle tier program, especially if there's a path to the field. But the case with these places always is too, though, that you might see the path to the field in front of you, but what is behind you? Because you're inevitably going to have another quarterback battle with another 5-star prospect that they brought in a year or two after you. So like, I would always think like, what does the next quarterback battle look like? Not when is the guy in front of me leaving, because that to me is going to be a super interesting thing. That is the thing that I find most fascinating about this whole situation when it comes to the quarterback position, is that we believe that coaches who take quarterback competitions into the fall, most of the times before this era, are like actually struggling with their decision, right? Like I've covered, you've all covered quarterback battles that go down to the wire, and mine particularly happened to be solved 5 minutes before kickoff in the 2015 season. But if we're in a position in the spring where we are putting coaches, or the transfer candidates are putting coaches in a position to make a decision in the spring. I wonder if that's going to lead to more wrong decisions or wrong choices, which then will mean more jewels in the portal leaving. Because it's like you could go with Carson Beck at Georgia. Not that he's not the best one, but let's just say Carson Beck isn't the guy, and then Vandegrift transfers and then wins the Heisman wherever he goes. Like, I wonder if that's going to be more common than we thought it was before this whole thing started.
Right. You've seen Beck play a little bit in games, but you haven't really seen. I think Vandegrift's gotten into a few, but none of them have played really when the games were on the line. So you don't know. I'm trying to think of time, because we made a big deal when Dave Aranda picked Blake Shapen last year after spring practice, and Gary Bohannon ended up transferring to USF. I'm trying to think of other times it's happened. I do remember Will Muschamp did it. You remember Florida had the very good season in 2012. They made the Sugar Bowl. They lost to Louisville. Muschamp, after spring practice, or maybe even before spring practice, but basically said, Jeff Driscoll's the guy. Jacoby Brissett then walks. And one of the reasons Muschamp did it was he didn't think it was fair to Jacoby Brissett to hold him hostage. Like, he's like, go and find somewhere where you can play. And Jacoby Brissett obviously became a very good quarterback at NC State.
Yeah,
so
to QBU. That's right.
And that was the wrong decision. Not mostly because Driscoll got hurt that year, but Driscoll winds up getting, transferring eventually to Louisiana Tech. And so if Jacoby Brissett had been Florida's starting quarterback in 2013, perhaps they don't go 4-8. We'll see.
Now I'll give you the list here too, just to put in perspective, like how this is going to go. Okay. All the battles from last year that we talked about. Okay. Cade McNamara transferred, Hudson Card transferred, Luke Altmaier transferred, Haynes King transferred, Jacoby Criswell transferred, Zach Calzada transferred, Donovan Smith transferred. Like, that's just, whether it's now, and I don't know how many there will actually be in May, but whether it's now or it's December, like, the guys that doesn't go their way, pretty much all of them are going to end up leaving. That's just kind of the state of the sport right now.